You've heard of the miracle of Dunkirk, right? It's one of those legendary stories, a heroic escape against absolutely impossible odds. But what if I told you that very same miracle was also one of the biggest military disasters of World War II? It's this incredible paradox, this mix of triumph and failure, and we're going to dig into exactly how both of those things can be true at the same time. Okay, just try to picture this for a second. It's late May 1940. You were one of more than 300,000 Allied soldiers, and you were completely trapped on the beaches of Dunkirk, France. You've got the English Channel at your back, and you can practically hear the German army closing in from the front. There is, quite literally, no place left to run. So, how in the world did it get this bad? To really get a feel for the miracle part of this story, you first have to understand the disaster part. The absolute brilliance and shocking speed of the German trap that was sprung on the Allies. Take a look at this map. This is the situation by May 21st. You see, the Allies had this massive blind spot. They were convinced that the Ardennes forest was just impenetrable for a modern army with tanks. But the Germans? They did the unthinkable. They sent their armored panzer divisions crashing right through that forest, and in doing so, they completely outflanked the main Allied armies fighting up in Belgium. This incredibly bold strategy had a name, Sichelschnitt, which translates to the sickle cut, and man, what a terrifyingly accurate name that was. The German armies just sliced right through the French lines, made a mad dash for the coast, and basically cut off the entire Northern Allied force, pinning them against the sea. Their only way out? The English Channel. So the trap is about to snap shut. The German army is poised to completely wipe out the cornered Allied soldiers. And then something totally unbelievable happens. A single order is given, a pivotal and still hotly debated decision to just stop. And that really is the million-dollar question at the heart of the whole Dunkirk story, isn't it? Their tanks were just a few miles from the beaches. Victory was right there for the taking. So why? Why did they stop? So around May 23rd, General von Rundstedt, with Hitler's full approval, issues this now famous halt order. The thinking was, well, a mix of things. For one, the Germans were worried that the marshy ground around Dunkirk was just not suitable for their tanks. They also really wanted to save their best panzer divisions for the final attack on Paris. But whatever the reason, this pause gave the Allies the most unexpected gift you could imagine, a 3-day window to somehow organize a defense and figure out a way to escape. And don't just take my word for how huge this was. The German general who actually gave the order, Gerd von Rundstedt, he later called it one of the great turning points of the war. Even he knew they had made a massive mistake, one that would change everything. So, with this unbelievable, almost heaven-sent reprieve, Britain launches one of the most daring and desperate rescue missions in all of military history. It was called Operation Dynamo, and the race against time was officially on. The final numbers were, well, they were just staggering. At first, the British were desperately hoping they could maybe, just maybe, save 45,000 men. By the time the operation ended on June 4th, they had actually rescued 338,226 Allied soldiers. It was a number that nobody, absolutely nobody, thought was even remotely possible. And you can see here just how much the whole effort ramped up. I mean, it started off pretty slow and desperate, right? Just over 7,000 guys rescued on day 1. But as they started to get a rhythm going, the numbers just explode. By day 6, they're getting almost 70,000 soldiers off those beaches in a single day. It was just a frantic, nonstop race against the clock. Now, this rescue wasn't just a simple straight shot across the channel. Oh no. The fleet of ships had to use 3 very different and very dangerous sea lanes, and each one came with its own set of deadly risks. The risks were just immense. You had Route Z, the shortest one, but it took you right past German artillery on the coast. Bad idea. Then there was Route X, which dodged the guns, but went straight through treacherous minefields. And finally, Route Y, the longest one, left you totally exposed to attacks from the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, and their Navy. There was no safe option. It was pick your poison. And you know, the incredible success of Operation Dynamo wasn't just about the Royal Navy, not at all. It relied on this amazing improvised civilian effort that has truly become the stuff of legend. See, the big Royal Navy destroyers were great. They could carry hundreds of men at a time. But there was a huge problem. Their hulls were too deep, so they couldn't get close to the shallow beaches. This left thousands and thousands of soldiers stranded out on the open sand, getting relentlessly bombed and shot at by German planes. So this emergency call goes out all across Britain, and what happens next is just extraordinary. A citizens' armada of over 800 boats answers the call. We're talking fishing boats, pleasure yachts, river barges. I mean, literally anything that could float sailed from civilian ports straight into a war zone. They acted like little water taxis, ferrying soldiers from the beaches out to the bigger ships waiting in deeper water. Can you imagine being one of those soldiers on the beach, just completely certain you were done for? A British soldier named Harry Garrett, who was right there, he summed up the feeling perfectly. For those men, seeing those boats appear on the horizon, well, it was like going from hell to heaven in an instant. So after all that, we come back to our main question. How should we remember Dunkirk? Was it a triumph of the human spirit, this miraculous deliverance? Or was it actually a catastrophic military failure? The real answer, of course, is in the paradox. The truth is, it was both. On the one hand, a colossal disaster. No thought about it. Britain lost 68,000 soldiers and had to abandon nearly all of its heavy equipment. Tanks, artillery, trucks, all of it left behind. It was a humiliating defeat. But on the other hand, it was a miracle of deliverance. That evacuation saved the professional corps of the British Army. It gave them a chance to regroup, rearm, and, most importantly, keep fighting the war. You know, maybe the final word on this should go to Winston Churchill. As the operation was ending, he called the rescue a miracle of deliverance, but he immediately warned everyone not to get carried away. The spirit of Dunkirk was incredible, for sure, but the war was far from over. And it really leaves us with this final lingering thought. Can a catastrophic defeat ever truly feel like a victory?